Hello, everyone, and welcome to today's Playwire Live. I'm Stacey Willis, COO at Playwire, and today we're here to talk about how to drive traffic to your website using an omnichannel strategy. So, at the end of the day, we have a ton of publishers looking to understand how they can drive traffic outside of just organic. So, how are we going to diversify and create more streams? And I'm really excited today to introduce Kelsey Vetter and Ali Grummer, who are going to help give us a little more details on how to do that. Kelsey is a Pinterest manager and strategist, and Ali is the owner of Duet, an email marketing and copywriting company. So I'm going to turn it over, Kelsey, to you first. You can give a little background introduction, and then we'll toss it to Ali, and then we'll jump in.
Of course. Thanks, Stacey. My name is Kelsey Vetter. I am the founder of Kelsey Vetter Co. We are a Pinterest marketing agency who helps online businesses leverage the power of Pinterest to drive traffic, generate leads, generate sales, and grow your audience on autopilot.
And Ali?
Yeah, so I'm Ali Grummer. Like you said, I run Duet, a done-for-you email marketing agency. I started out as a personal finance blogger, just really got into the creator space that way and saw the value of email marketing. And so I set up welcome and nurture sequence automations for clients. Driving traffic back to their website on autopilot. And making sure that their audience knows who they are, why they should be on their email list, what other kind of good content is coming down the line, and really helping them build that relationship with the creator.
I love it. And I'm making a mental note to come back to you and ask for finance tips later. So I want to just really jump in and start with the foundation, right? So from each of you, what would you consider the most foundational things from either of your perspectives, coming from two slightly different backgrounds, when you're thinking about building out an omnichannel strategy? And Kelsey, if you want to kick us off.
Of course. Yeah. So for me, a lot of people, specifically coming from a Pinterest mindset, overlook Pinterest. It can feel very overwhelming to especially smaller businesses or solopreneurs or people who just feel like they need to show up on every single platform and do the most and do all of the things. And things just kind of get pushed to the side, certain platforms, especially Pinterest. But really, foundationally, having a presence, a multi-channel presence, and cross-platform marketing is so important to anyone's business success. And I've got two little examples I want to share to kind of reiterate and drive that home to show from real life clients how important that can be. One is a client of mine who has over 1 million followers on TikTok, over 1 million followers on Instagram. They've got 50,000 YouTube subscribers. They're doing all the things, they're showing up. They've got a Pinterest marketing channel as well. And consistently, since implementing a Pinterest marketing strategy, they are now getting more website traffic from Pinterest monthly than TikTok and Instagram, those 2 million followers combined, right? So a lot of people think, it's okay, I'm just going to rely on social media, or I'll just show up here and that's all I have capacity for. But you're missing out on that kind of business growth or so many leads or just getting in front of your ideal audience if you are skipping or leaving a platform behind. Another really quick example is another client of mine has an online boutique. They're an online merchandiser and retailer, and they've got a really strong Instagram presence. They grew their business on Instagram, do a lot of collaborations with influencers over on Instagram. Well, when we started and we implemented a Pinterest marketing strategy and they started showing up where their ideal audience is, not only did it generate more revenue and traffic, it also led to somebody from the Anthropologie retail chain finding their products on Pinterest, reaching out to them, and they are now wholesaling their products to Anthropologie nationwide. So you just never know what's going to happen or who's watching, and what kind of business growth opportunities are available to you outside of maybe the platforms or the marketing channels that you're currently comfortable on. So for me, those are kind of the foundational, just getting started, just showing up is just step number one. And hopefully that kind of inspires how important that can be.
I think of Pinterest, coming from like a heavy organic and SEO background myself, as a similar channel to organic, right? Where it's a little less focused on I have to post every single minute of every single day to actually drive the traffic like you have to with social, to becoming more of an evergreen strategy that continues to provide results even after you've posted, without needing as much of that like daily interaction as a social media strategy.
Yes, for clients, and I think everyone can relate to this, is you constantly feel like you're on this content hamster wheel, constantly pumping out content for social media or writing blog posts or email blasts, etc. But on Pinterest, your content lasts so much longer than it does on social media. Whereas on an Instagram story is 24 hours, a post is maybe 24 hours. a tweet is 15 minutes, whatever that might be, Pinterest pins last and drive traffic for literally years. Most of my clients who have been Pinterest marketing for a while, their top traffic driving pins are from 2021, 2022, because it is a search engine. A lot of people think of it as a social media platform, but at the end of the day, it's a search and discovery platform, a visual search engine, and it is an SEO driven platform. So once your content has that opportunity to rank, you could see traffic driving results without have even published a piece of content in 30, 60 days, if not more. So we love Pinterest for that content longevity.
Who doesn't want stuff that keeps paying off, right?
Yeah, exactly.
Well, and then I think the flip side of it, right, is to me, the easiest audience to get to come back to your site or to get to come to your site is somebody who's been willing to come before. So then, Allie, that's where you come in. I'd love to hear some of your thoughts as to how you would build kind of some of the foundations of a strategy for that.
Yeah. So email marketing is just so fundamental to the longevity of a business, so like Kelsey and I talked about, like, what does it look like to not just drive traffic back to your site, but also like drive new leads, like they work together in that sense. Like the search engine kind of drives into the site itself makes these offers known, whether it's like a freebie or an event. Like, how do you get them on your list? And then how do you build a relationship with them to keep them coming back? And so, like when I create welcome and nurture sequences for clients, we're often asking, like, what other platforms are you on that you're already creating content on that we just need to tell your email audience about? Because they might not have come from your YouTube channel, but they should know you have a YouTube channel, or they should know that you're active on TikTok. So there's still there's so much room for cross promotion. And then it's also like the longevity of evergreen content being put into nurture sequences. Like I counted the other day, my nurture sequence is up to 80 emails. So like I've been writing emails since October 2019, like a year into business. I was like, okay, finally I need to start like sending out emails, not just surviving as a business owner. And I've just repurposed those to go out another day of the week, just every Tuesday. And so I'm getting replies back from people saying this was so helpful. And I was like, yeah, I wrote that 4 years ago. How crazy is that? I repurposed that content into blog posts. And like, yeah, I just know it's this asset that keeps on giving. And I can grow my list knowing that people are going to join and they're going to hear about my favorite affiliate offers. They're going to know about my products. They're going to know about freebies. But also like Instagram. Like I've got a lot of blogging clients, right? So it's like, we need to send them back to Pinterest because we need them to follow and get those into that algorithm that, Pinterest. I don't know anything about Pinterest, Kelsey, but I know we need to send them there. But that's also really important for bloggers. So that kind of like, that's how these tools work together, is like Kelsey is looking at traffic, I'm looking at retention.
And I'll add, from the ad monetization side, every email address you collect is worth more in terms of how much advertising revenue you can generate from that individual person. So if you have an ad platform that can send that information up the bid stream, then all of a sudden you're going to get much higher bids on those people. And so kind of leading me down into the next question, which is like, when people are getting started, there's like, what are tips to make this a really effective strategy? Because I've seen people throw up the like, hey, here's, sign up for an email, but they get like a 1% take rate, right? So what are some tips that you have to get a much higher percentage of your readers being willing to take that step and submit an email?
Yeah. So you're taking visitors, people like passing by. Like, how do you get them to not just window shop, but say like, maybe I'll actually go in and open the door? So it's having some sort of incentive, just being really clear on the benefit of that and make sure that that is aligned with the type of person you want to attract and the type of content that you send out. So like, you don't want to create like a baby food checklist if like 90% of your content is dinners, like thinking about food bloggers. So, and maybe you do if you've been in it long enough and you're like, I just can't wait to create another freebie. Like, go for it. Go add that to your other posts. But the goal is that you're creating some sort of incentive in exchange for their email address. So that way when they join, they get something free, easy to access. And then from there, you want to have some sort of way that you're introducing them to your brand. Okay. And the way that I think about a welcome sequence is it's like a brand hub, because people might come in from this freebie, that freebie, Pinterest, Instagram, wherever, but like, how can you make sure that they're having this really wonderful onboarding experience to know who you are, what kind of content you send, why the heck they should even open your emails? And so how can you front load a really awesome experience for new subscribers? Because I think there's so much around like building an email list, but then you're like, what do I tell them? And it gets hard to build an email list if you don't know what you're going to be sending them. And like creating that welcome sequence really gets you clear on your own brand value. And it makes it that much more exciting because you're like, I can grow my list because I know they're going to hear about my ebook. I know they're going to hear about my program, or I know, like, you just know that you've created this experience for them. And then you can couple that with your live broadcasts, your new content as it comes out. So, and I think just in general, when it comes to beginning to like, every email does not have to be chock full with like 15 different tips. Like one email can have one thing in it that's like, this is valuable in and of itself, and then just hit send. Because if you wait until it feels like this collection, like this, you know, curated newsletter, like first of all, you're delaying getting that wonderful content you have in your head to that person because you feel like it has to be this monthly curated newsletter. It's like, just send it out in pieces. Like it's easier for you to produce and it's easier for people to consume.
Yeah. And I'm like, I'm not going to read that whole long email, but I will read the one tip real quick.
Yeah.
So similar question, Kelsey, on your side. If somebody's just starting out, what should they expect to like, you know, ramp up and get a Pinterest strategy off the ground? The example I'll use is from the SEO side of the world. I'm always really clear that it's like, hey, if you're really starting to take off on organic traffic, it ain't happening overnight. But here are the things you look at to tell you if you're on the right track. And here's about how long you think it'll take.
Totally. Yeah. So getting started on Pinterest, I always tell my clients it's going to feel like you're doing a lot of work and absolutely nothing is happening. But something will happen if you just stay consistent, if you really lay that foundation. So foundationally, making sure you do SEO research specifically for Pinterest. What are the keywords, the search terms, the phrases that your ideal audience is actually searching on Pinterest? And how do we use those words in different areas of your profile, of your pins, of your pin designs to, number one, tell the algorithm and tell Pinterest what your content is about, so it shows your content to the right people. And number two, entice your ideal audience and solve a problem for them and entice them to click from that pin and land on your website. And then the kind of 2.0 strategy is making sure that your website is optimized for cold traffic. So at the end of the day, Pinterest traffic is coming to your website, but what kind of micro commitments, like a freebie or a lead magnet to download, or links to follow you on social media, or just ways to get people into your business ecosystem. Obviously, free information is great, and that's what people are most likely looking for from Pinterest traffic, depending on the search. But how can you, client retention and lead retention, give them some sort of micro commitment to either stay on your blog post or funnel them into either your list, your social media channels, your YouTube, etc. So those kind of two pieces, laying that foundation, figuring out what your ideal audience is actually searching and actually wants from you on Pinterest, and then optimizing the back end of your website. So when you do get that traffic eventually, and to answer your question about timeline, it can really take 3 to 6 months, if not more, to start seeing that kind of traffic you want. Upwards of 12 months to a year, if you're really consistent with it, that's when those numbers really start to get to the place where you really want to see them. But
it's just like organic traffic, it's like almost
100%.
Exactly the same.
Yep, exactly. It's very, I always say that Pinterest is basically Google, just pretty. So
I love that.
So it functions very much the same, and timeline is very similar. But if you have a lot of traffic coming from Pinterest, it will come if you're consistent with it and if you've done all that research. If you're not capitalizing on it and optimizing it and capturing those leads, what's the point? So making sure you have that really optimized website with those micro commitments built in is super important as well.
And do you have a tip for like a research tool? I use SEMrush for organic, but is there one specific to Pinterest? You're talking about making sure that you're doing your keyword research there. Do you have a tool recommendation?
Yes. So the best keyword research for Pinterest is done right within Pinterest, actually.
Okay.
There's a lot of external platforms and things you can pay for. I like Key Search, but specifically for Pinterest, it's so simple to just head to the Pinterest search bar, start typing in whatever you would search to find your content or commonly asked questions by your audience. Pinterest is going to give you the top search terms and keywords based on what you just typed in. So that right there is the best data and value that you can get, and something that an external platform isn't going to have. And it's just quick and it's easy and it's right there. So I just recommend just head to the Pinterest search bar, use the Pinterest Trends tool. There's a couple, use the Pinterest Ads Manager to see what kind of interests and keywords come up in there. And that's really it.
Awesome. So then let's shift, one of the things that we always talk about right after saying, here's how you get started, but now it's like, how do you measure progress and project outwards? So Allie, to you first, like what are the KPIs you monitor? How do you measure success when you're starting out? And then also maybe when you're a little bit more advanced in your email strategy?
A little bit more. Yeah. So when you're starting out, it's consistency. Like,
Okay.
And that's pretty common in the publisher world, right? It's like the same way that you want to be creating content consistently for your blog or social media or whatnot. It's just what does it look like to show up regularly? And then it's like, and I always say like consistently, show up consistently, but consistently is whatever you determine. So if it's 2 times a month, do 2 times a month. If you can get to 3 times a month or weekly. And from there, you just kind of stack over time, and you can always modify like how you explain to your audience, like what they're going to get or what they can opt out of. But, there's always this fear that the people, a lot of my clients, people in my audience come to me, they're like, I'm just so worried I'm going to overwhelm my subscriber. And it's like, well, you're sending them 1 email every 6 months now. Like you've got time. You've got time before you got to worry about that. And then there are solutions for that when it feels like that might be the case. If you have people telling you, but yeah, so consistency. And then, and I say that because I notice it is so hard for people to actually like produce and send the email. Like I don't want to write like ease over that, like once you get more established and you get those reps in and that practice, it's way easier to send an email. You're not sweating bullets when you hit schedule, but up until then it feels really scary. And it's like, there's so much keeping you. You're like, is it valuable? Does it have to sound professional? And I was like, mine all have like Brooklyn Nine-Nine GIFs in them, like so many of my emails, or like Taylor Swift or whatever. Like it doesn't, professional is one thing, but like helpful is what matters more than anything. So if you have something helpful that'll move someone forward, even if it's like by this much, or encourage them this much, or inspire them this much, like send the dang email. And so that's, I would say, consistency and getting your message out, getting familiar with how you want to write, like what is the purpose of your email list? Like if you can do that for like 6 months to a year, then you can start thinking new strategies. But I know that you're already like speaking to the publisher, eyes on me. Like I know you're already busy with everything else. So like, don't worry about overanalyzing this. Like do not look at your unsubscribes. Do not look at, honestly, your open rate, your click rate. It doesn't matter because your list is so little as it starts out. Like those things are not monumental. What's more monumental is that you're sharing your message and you're getting that muscle working, that you get used to it. And then as you get more established, it's like, okay, what kind of automations can we set up? Do we have products we need to sell? Do we need to segment the list for different offers? Are we going to send out 6 emails a week? And how do we segment the list to make sure that people only get what they want? Like that's where you get the more advanced strategies. But yeah, once you've been, and I get a lot of clients who've been just doing that basic, like just sending consistently for like 5 years before they come to work with me on some more advanced strategies.
Great. And then Kelsey, same question for you. What are the KPIs you look at on the Pinterest side?
Yeah, so a lot of people really focus. There's a lot of metrics you can track on Pinterest. You can track impressions, engagements, outbound clicks, saves, a total audience, engaged audience. There's a lot of things that are going to show up in your analytic dashboard. And a lot of people get really focused on impressions because that's always the biggest number and it's the one that grows the fastest and the quickest. And we're very used to focusing on views because that's what's really important on social media. But on Pinterest, impressions is just the number of times your pins have been shown on a screen. So that doesn't take into account anyone scrolling down to slowing down their scroll to look at it or clicking it or anything like that. So I would say something to know immediately is just don't focus on impressions. That's really not the most important metric. The ones that are important are going to be engagements. So someone clicking on your pin to make it bigger, saving it for later, any sort of sending it to a friend, anytime that they engage with your pin at all, that's a really important metric, especially when you're first getting started and there's just not a lot of stuff happening. That can be the most important metric to track. When it gets to be month 2, month 3, month 4, and beyond of being consistent with Pinterest marketing, the most important metrics are going to be saves and outbound clicks. Number 1 is outbound clicks. That's the number 1 goal with Pinterest marketing, is to drive traffic. So outbound clicks is the metric that tells us how many people clicked from a Pinterest pin and landed on your website. So that, along with saves, which can signal intent that someone's going to come back to this, so they were inspired by it and they want to learn more about it later, implement it into their life later. Those are the 2 most important metrics and KPIs to track. And that data that the analytics dashboard in Pinterest gives you can really inform your decision and your strategy going forward of, okay, these are the top 7 pins. What do they have in common? Do they have similar keywords in common? Do they all go to the same post? Do they have the same template or branding or style? What about them did people like and made them click onto our website? How can we recreate that success going forward?
Totally. It's just almost a mirror image of like the same things that you do on the organic side, where you have half of your job is getting it to show up in the rankings. And then the other half is that how do you get people to click on it, right? What are the things that drive that next step? And both of those can be super powerful.
Yeah, for Pinterest, that's typically solving a problem. I can give an example. I could post a pin that says 5 effective email marketing strategies. Okay, maybe I'll click on that if I'm looking for email marketing information on Pinterest. But if I post that same pin and it says 5 email marketing strategies that you've never heard of to help you grow your list from 0 to 1,000 to get your first 1,000 subscribers, I'm going to be more enticed to click on that because that is giving me a promise of growing my list from scratch. That's where I'm solving my problem of I'm starting with 0. Where do I go from here? As opposed to just telling me it's going to give me some strategies. This is giving me more of a promise and a solution to my problem that it's going to help me grow my list from 0. So that can be.
And then you end up on Allie's website.
Exactly.
Well, I could ask a million questions all day. I love nerding out on anything traffic driving, but we are running out of time. I do want to make sure we're leaving everybody with like, I'd say like the most valuable tip. If you want the audience to walk away with something, if they don't walk away with nothing else, what would it be? Allie, to you first.
Oh, did you see? I just went, ooh, think. So I got picked first, of course. Yeah. It's way more fun to grow and email a list of subscribers when you're already sharing valuable content. So but it feels weird at first because you have it's crickets. It's 35 people when you're starting or whatnot. Or maybe you're picking back up email when you let it kind of fall off for a while. But when you know that you're sending value to people, when it's coming through that lens, it's going to make it that much more fun for them to get your emails, to stay on your list, and then for you to grow your list. And so I guess my encouragement is find easy ways to create value to send your list. Things like, I know that this pasta recipe is life-changing. My family eats it at least once a month. That is value. Or even if it's sharing resources to other people's content that you really like, so thinking through, how do I build a relationship with people? And don't be afraid to share those things, because just because it's common knowledge to you doesn't mean it's common knowledge to them. And so your role is your job is to encourage, to inspire, and as a result, we're driving traffic back to your website and we're building brand loyalty. And they're going to forward this email to a friend. So thinking about the value of it and then the outcomes that will come as a result.
Amazing. And Kelsey, how about you?
Yeah, there's so many things I could say to answer this question, but I think most importantly, assuming that a lot of people watching this are probably overlooking the power of Pinterest and overlooking a couple platforms that they could be showing up on. It's just going to be, don't underestimate the power of showing up on all platforms and the kind of traffic that it can bring to your website. So get started, lay that foundation, be consistent, and be patient. If you do all of those things, the results will come and it will be more than worth it. It's just a matter of getting started and not overlooking Pinterest specifically, or using it to grow your email list or just build that brand awareness or whatever that is. You're missing out on a lot of clicks without just getting started and building that foundation. So I think that's got to be my answer to that.
I'm going to go spend some more time on Pinterest after this. For sure.
Seriously, I have questions.
Same. Well, if anybody else has questions for either Allie or Kelsey, we can definitely make sure to share their information when we post the live, and we'll make sure that anybody can reach out to them or know how to reach out to them if you need to. Thank you all for coming and joining us today. And don't forget to catch us for future Playwire Lives. They tend to be on Thursdays at 3 p.m. Eastern, so keep an eye out for the next one. And thank you so much, Allie and Kelsey, for taking the time to work with us today.
Thank you so much. Great to chat.
Thank you.
Bye, everybody.